Hello YouTube friends, Dr. Teresa here. Well, I've been posting some videos on my new Dwarf Seahorses and my tank setup, and I did mention I made some changes. For example, I took out this piece of rock that I wanted to use for copepods to hide in, but I found out that dwarves can cut or scrape themselves on coral rock, so I took that out. There's also a big sponge filter in the back, and I took that out because I learned that that can really contribute to nitrates. I then substituted the space with more hitching posts, and it really adds a lot of nice color. I've been noticing the seahorses changing color since I've added these plants. But one problem I've had since I've taken out the rock and the sponge filter is that my Aquaclear 20 or Mini, as it was called when I first bought it many years ago, wasn't able to keep up with the biological filtration, so I had a nitrate spike. I did see a YouTube video, and I'm going to link it below, and it suggested using an Aquaclear 70 on a Dwarf Seahorse tank, but switching out the impeller from a 20 so that you have more biological capacity, but still have that low flow of the 20. So I thought I'd try it, and I'm also going to add a couple of mini sponge filters. They won't help so much with biological filtration, but add more circulation. I just felt like the water was too stagnant as it was with my current setup. So I'm going to get started opening the box. This, of course, is a brand new aqua filter. And we'll take a look at the contents inside. There's the filter, and in the box are the filtration media. Wow, look how much bigger this is. We'll take a look at a comparison in a minute. I'm just so impressed. The intake tubes are wider, the U tube that creates the siphon, the basket is huge. Look at the Aquaclear sponge for the Mini. It barely even fills up the space in the 70. Here's a comparison side by side of the 20 and the 70, and when you calculate the total cubic amount of space, it's almost tripled the amount. So I'm really excited about making this update because it's going to really create a lot of biological space for nitrifying colonies. So I took off the plastic. I'm using some forceps to take out the 70 impeller, and look at the 20 impeller. It's smaller, has fewer fins, and the fins are shorter. So that makes sense to me that it will really reduce the flow. So once I get that impeller put back in, I need to put that plastic piece on that cover in which the U-tube hooks on, and my next step is to use some very warm, almost super hot water to rinse off any factory residue or films so those don't get entered into my aquarium. So that just takes a few minutes, and I want to make sure I get all of the tubes. I did feel a little bit of a film on the intake tube. And because I'm going to have the space, I am going to offer a thin layer of carbon this time, very thin, and I'm using just old pantyhose stocking just because I have those laying around and they're cheap, and they make a nice sachet for filtration media. And I'm rinsing out the carbon until it's no longer bleeding out that dark color that carbon has. And I'm going to add another sachet of nitrate reducer, just again because I have the space and I don't want to throw the other one away because it does have colonies of nitrifying bacteria on it. And once again, I need to rinse it to make sure no residue is leaching out. And then finally, I'm going to increase the amount of biological media. These are like a type of rocks. They're not really ceramics. But notice how cloudy the water gets when I fill up that glass. So I'm going to let the water run on it a little bit until it starts running clear because I don't want any of that getting into the tank. Well, it looks pretty clear now. So I'm going to drain it, and I'm going to start putting all of the media together. I did a 25% water change on the 10-gallon aquarium, and I have the Aquaclear 20 sitting in the bucket along with the media that it has. That piece I'm putting on, that's just to balance out the filter once it's hooked up onto the tank. Putting together the assembly for the intake and then putting that inside of the actual filter. There's my biological media, there's my nitrate remover, and there's my mini sponge, and those are all well colonized with nitrifying bacteria. Wow, look at the size of that sponge for the 70. It is so much bigger than the one for the 20. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 20. I don't want to throw this one away because it's loaded with good bacteria for the nitrogen cycle. I'm going to slice it up into 3 parts, and I'm going to spread it out on top of the big sponge for the 70 filter, and that will help seed that filter. So I'll still have the benefits of everything that was colonized in the mini, and won't be losing too much of it, but giving a quick start to the media that's in the 70. So there's the nitrate reducer that was old in the 20, and I'm also adding the new sachet. And once I get everything positioned, I kind of close up the basket just to see my space, and look, I've got a lot of space left for more biological media. So I'm going to take the media that I rinsed off in that glass jar and start adding it to the sachet, and look, oh my goodness, so much more media. This is going to be great for a really stable Dwarf Seahorse aquarium. And then I put that final layer on top with carbon and insert the basket into the filter. And there's still plenty of space in there, so eventually as I do water changes and replace out some media in the filter, I'll end up replacing the spaces. I'm putting the impeller in the box that was from the 70 so it doesn't get lost, and I'll mark it as the 70 impeller, keep it safely stored. And I'm taking the sponge that I had on the mini, and I don't even need a rubber band for this one. It's actually a snug fit, so I can slide that on there, and that's just another piece of colonizing media besides protecting the intake from dwarf seahorses and babies in food. And look at that space that I have. So in the future, when I swap out some media, I'll have lots more space for that biomedia, those little rocks that I have, the porous rocks. So I put the filter on the tank, and I'm starting to add some fresh, pre-prepared seawater to it. And I was amazed that this filter held a ½ gallon of water. It was a really much bigger capacity than the mini. Of course, I knew it was bigger, but I'm just really excited that all the biological filtration is going to be in there helping to keep the tank stable. So because of the smaller impeller, it's taking longer for the intake tube to create a siphon, and while that's working, I'm just putting in the sponge filters that I wanted to add, one in each corner. Once the intake is fully working, I slide the level of power to the lowest level, and I end up putting on the cover plate, and you can see it's a nice slow moderate flow. And it doesn't seem like it's too strong for the dwarfs. They're doing okay latching on. They're not being blown around all over the place. They can still see food approaching them and capture it. And it has a really nice look, nice clean look to it, very clear, beautiful color with the plants. And look at this guy, he's swimming around in the current. He actually seems to like the extra current as he swims right into it. Well, I hope this video was helpful for you. I'm hoping this change brings more success with the dwarf seahorses. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Please subscribe to Cowfish Pro. Take care.